What's the number one problem landlords have when they're trying to rent a property? They don't know how to advertise properly, so they get the wrong tenants. And then when they get the wrong tenants, they don't know how to screen properly, so they get even more problems. Well, it doesn't have to happen. I'm here to tell you that there's a way that you can screen tenants and advertise for tenants that is going to get you the right kind of tenant attracted to your property, and then I'll take you to the next steps and show you how it works from there. I want to tell you a little story, though. There's a friend of mine from Edmonton, two dentists, who decided they wanted to invest in real estate to kind of diversify their portfolio. And they got all these rental units. And their son was telling me that tenants were just awful people, because every single time they rented to a tenant, the tenants trashed their properties, and they spent about $10,000, $20,000 fixing them all up all over again. And I said to him, it's not the tenants. I've had tenants for 18 years. No one's ever trashed my properties, because you have to learn how to screen for proper tenants. So you have to learn how to advertise. Who am I, and why do I have the authority to talk to you about this? My name is Nelda Schulte. I have a business called neldaschulte.com, and I help landlords all over Canada, and I've helped them for many years find the right tenants for their properties with proper advertising and screening and all kinds of resources. And I wrote this great book called The Canadian Landlord's Handbook, which everybody should have, and it walks you through, it holds your hand about how to be a great landlord and how to get great tenants. And I'm here today to talk to you about how to advertise for your property. And there are some really great things that you need to know. For instance, how do you speak to your target audience? How do you paint a picture of your ideal tenant so that they say, oh, that's me. I'm the one who needs to apply for this property. How do you accentuate the positives of your property? How do you make the headline count and stand out? How do you make sure your ad doesn't violate the Human Rights Act? And when you have common advertising problems, how do you fix them? That's what we're going to cover today. So stay tuned. I'm going to drill down really deep into all these different topics with advertising so you know exactly what I know, and you're going to do a stellar job of advertising for great tenants. Today I'm going to share my advertising checklist with you, but that's not all. It's not only going to give you a step-by-step checklist of what you need to do and what order when you're writing your ad, but I'm also going to share some other documents with you so that you can see a comparison between good ads, bad ads, good pictures, and bad pictures. And, basically it's going to give you all the nitty-gritty that you need so that you can differentiate between a good ad and a bad ad. Anyway, guys, let's get right into it. I'm going to show you my checklist. So, how do you advertise your property? Well, first rule is you need to speak to your target audience. That's the first rule of any kind of marketing. So who is best suited to live in your property? If you've got, for instance, a bachelor condo that is 340 square feet, you're obviously not going to be advertising to a family of 5 or multiple roommates. Obviously, you're going to know your property and you're going to know the size. You're going to know the minimum housing and health requirements and condo bylaws. You know how many people you can fit into that property. So think about that person when you are writing your ad and your ad headline. Who are they? You need to write a profile or write an avatar. Figure out who they are, where they live, what kind of a budget do they have? Why would they want to live in your property? Is it close to school? Is it close to work? Is it close to community centers? Those are things you need to flush out before you start writing your ad. Number 2, paint a picture of your property. So when you're describing your property in the body of your ad, you do it from the tenant's perspective. So you speak about it as if you were the tenant, and they're kind of looking at it and they're going, oh yeah, that's me. That's what I want. So that's the second step. Step number 3 is you want to highlight the positives. So you always want to speak about your ad in the positives, the features, the benefits that would appeal to your profile tenant or your avatar. And then you want to really make sure when you're writing your headline that it really counts. It's got to be short, it's got to be to the point, and it's got to target the property's main attractions. You also need to use good images, because your target audience is going to be forming an impression of you based on what you're writing. If everything looks professional, it looks really good, they're going to think you're a professional landlord, or they're going to take you seriously. So that's really quite important. Make sure that you've got really good images. And then you want to check your spelling and your grammar. I don't know how many times I read ads that say property for tent rather than property for rent. And they have some really hilarious spelling mistakes that I've looked at over the years. And I thought, oh my gosh, who would apply to that one? It just looks so crazy. Then lastly, you want to make sure that your ad doesn't exclude anybody based on the Human Rights Act. And yes, place to live, accommodation, housing falls under the Human Rights Act. And I'll talk about that quite a bit more later. And then lastly, you want to tweak your ad as needed. You might not hit your mark right off the bat when you've written your ad. You might have to tweak it a little bit. I'm going to show you when you get certain results, what you can do and how you can tweak it so that you do get the results you want. And that's basically how this works. And the last point I want to make is keep at it. Your results improve over time. If you didn't hit your mark the very first time you wrote your ad, don't worry about it. Keep trying, and you will get where you want to go. Okay? It's about that hard or that simple. All right, so let's just get right into how to write a good ad. And I'm going to show you some points here on these ads too that are not necessarily 100% legal. More on that later. So first thing you want to do is you want to grab somebody's attention with the headline, because we're all reading tons of things all day long. I know I do. I don't read the way I used to. Like when I started university, I would read the beginning of the paragraph and I'd go all the way through to the end and read the story. I don't read that way anymore, and neither does anybody else. You read the top. If that interests you, you go to the bottom, and then you might read some of the middle. So you have to catch their attention in the first 5 to 10 seconds with your title. So the reason this is a good title, A Beautiful Place an Empty Nester Can Call Home, is because even though you're not allowed to say this is a seniors only complex, which by the way, this property was when I wrote this ad, and it was approved by the government. It was 55 plus, no kids allowed. And normally you cannot write ads that have wording that excludes anybody. So if you say seniors, that's considered illegal. However, in this instance, it was legal because it is a seniors complex and it was approved by the government. So my heading targeted people who are empty nesters or seniors. So that's why I said it's a beautiful place an empty nester could call home. Immediately somebody who is retired, they're downsizing, or maybe they don't want to have kids around, is going to look at this and go, oh, that's me. So that's why I wrote this title, and that's why it'll grab your attention in the first 10 seconds. And then throughout the ad, it's all about kind of ease of living. So it's close to lots of different amenities. We see in one of the paragraphs down here, we're talking about how it's close to medical centers, shopping. You know, it's within walking distance. You can also take a bus. There's a bus stop right in front of the building. So it's just super easy access, which is what seniors would want. They also have beautiful green space, but they don't have to maintain it. So all of that's maintained for them, but they get the beauty without the work. It's an adults only complex. I mentioned that. And I talk about how it's bright and it's inviting and it's spacious and the price is really good. So if people are downsizing with their income as well, it's going to be very appealing for them. So that's kind of what you want to do when you're writing the ad. You want to write it as if you have to think about what your tenants would want. And I thought a senior tenant would want something that's easy to deal with, close to all of the amenities that they need to access. It still looks like it's a really nice place. It's quiet, it's calm. They don't have to deal with any of the maintenance or any of the tree cutting or the grass cutting or snow shoveling. All of that's taken care of for them, and it's a really good price. So that's what I was thinking when I wrote this ad. And we actually found somebody very quickly, probably within a week when we posted this ad. Now, here's the next ad. Now, if you come from Calgary, Alberta, which not everybody does, but you would know that Mackenzie Town is kind of an upscale, family-oriented community. So even though I can't say that I'm appealing to a family, if somebody read this, they would realize Mackenzie Town and they might automatically think family. Also, when you're looking at 3-bedroom, 2.5 bathroom, that's kind of more along the lines of what a family's looking for. Most single people or couples are not looking for 3 bathrooms and 3 bedrooms. It's usually a little bit much for them unless they're really wealthy, in which case they're not renting, they're buying. So the ad targeted small families. Throughout the content of the ad, I thought, what would a small family want? Well, a lot of them want a fenced backyard because if they've got children, they want to be able to have their children play in the back and be able to keep an eye on them. If they have pets, they want their pets to have access to the backyard and keep an eye on them, keep them contained. So it's fenced in. That's very appealing for them. 2-car garage. very appealing for a young family. That there's an upstairs and a downstairs, so people on the main floor can watch television, they can be eating, and they're not bothering the people who are sleeping or doing homework or working in their office stuff on the top levels. And then there's a basement below. So now people who have teenagers, I know this, want that space for their teens. Either the teen wants to sleep there or have that as their teen cave. And or if it's a young couple and they want to have exercise equipment or turn it into a family room, it's just another big space they can utilize. So there's a lot of space. It's close to communities, schools, recreation centers. I wrote this ad thinking about a young family in mind. Now there's one thing here that actually you can't do. I mentioned that you're not allowed to mention families or singles or anything, any kind of wording that excludes anybody. So I wrote on the very bottom here, this is a family-oriented community, perfect for a single or professional family looking for a safe place to grow. You actually can't write that. So this is kind of illegal. You can't, if you say family, then you're excluding people who are singles. If you're saying single, you're excluding people who are families. You can't get that niche down in your description. So all of this ad would have been fine, except for the last little blurb there, where it talks about exclusive vocabulary, or it uses exclusive vocabulary that you can't use. So other than that, this would actually be a very good ad. Next, stay tuned. I'm going to show you some pictures that are good pictures and bad pictures, because your pictures are really hugely important. So those are coming up next. All right, so let's get into some of these photos. What makes a great photo, what makes a not so great photo. I'm going to start with the first one. This is a great photo, and I'm going to tell you why. Firstly, when people want to see your property, they want to see what it looks like on the outside, even if it's a condo in a condo building. They want to see what the building looks like. They want to see what the neighborhood looks like. And then they want you to kind of walk them through it step by step. So as you walk in the entrance, what are you seeing? As you're walking up the stairs, what are you seeing? Kind of they want to see the sequential view of how the property is laid out. So this is what I like about this photo. This is why this is a good photo. So you've got we just saw the front of the building, and then they've got a bedroom here. You can get a real feel for the size of the bedroom. Things are neat and tidy, but they look lived in. Like, it doesn't look like it's professionally staged. It's nice and bright. You can see a great big kitchen. You can see the living room. Bathroom is really tidy. And okay, here's my pet peeve. The toilet seat is down. I really like this, okay? A lot of people will take a picture of their bathroom with the toilet seat up, towels all over the place, sink is all messy. It just looks horrible. And you can't erase that picture from your mind. Once you've seen it, you've seen it. So this is a great picture of a bathroom, because look how neat and tidy everything is. That's great. And then they show the back of the property too. This is an excellent set of pictures. Good job, whoever wrote this ad. Now I'm going to show you a not so great set of pictures. Okay, why is this not so great? Well, there are only 4 photos. They start with this kind of blurry picture of the kitchen, which is not very great. And then they show the bedroom. They've got this massive bed squished into this tiny little room. I don't know how they got the bed in. There's an even bigger picture of the bed. And there's the living room. Do you see any pictures of the bathrooms? Do you see any picture of the outside of the place? Do you see any picture of the entrance or the amenities of the condo building? Obviously, this is a condo, but you'd never know that from the picture. You don't know if it's an apartment. You don't know if they have a bathroom. They don't have a bathroom. You don't know if they have laundry. And those things are really important to tenants when they're looking for a place to live. They want to see what the place looks like. They want to know if it's a place they can call home that they're proud to bring people to visit them, or if it's someplace they're kind of embarrassed about living in. You know, you have to flush it all out for them. Show them everything as if that was their new place to live, that they're all proud of, and it's looking the best that it possibly can in the pictures. It's putting its best foot forward. So that's why you need good pictures showing the front and the back of the building, step-by-step sequential, everything tidied up, neat and clean, and really nice looking pictures, professionally done, nice and clear. Now you know everything I know about pictures. So I talked to you about how to write a good ad, what not to put in the ad, but now I want to show you some actual examples of human rights violations of where landlords are actually getting sued because they've written some wrong words in their ads. Now this one's fairly blatant. This one was in the CBC News, and it's a young woman who's looking for a place to live, but she can't find anything because right now where she lives in Ontario, there's a preference for Indian students or Indian tenants. And so these people are going to be sued because they have actually written in their ads that they prefer Indians. So I'm going to show you where the ads are. Here we go. Indian students preferred, Gujarati preferred. That is highly exclusive human rights violation language. Here's another one. Room for rent. For Indian students, 350. You can't write this in your ads. If you do, you're going to be in trouble. So it's a violation of human rights. A lot of landlords have no idea that human rights governs advertising and housing, but it absolutely does. And I'm going to show you another example as well. So I'm going to get rid of this one. This man is based out of Windsor, and he was discriminated against because he's Black. Now, it wasn't really overt the way that it was done, but he was applying for 3 different places. He's got a good job. He speaks English fluently. He's Jamaican Canadian, but he found as soon as people discovered that they thought he was Black, all of a sudden his application disappeared. They couldn't find it. You know, they made all kinds of excuses. So he did something to catch them in the act. So he filled in all of his application. He got a friend of his who's white to deliver it to a landlord. And then the landlord approved the guy based on this fellow's, Chevron Renee's, application and his pay stub and all of his documentation. And then when he showed up, when Rennie showed up and said, okay, it's me, and let me into the property, and the guy said, no, I can't rent it to you. And so he took them to the Human Rights Tribunal and he won. So he was awarded $4,927 in compensation for injury to dignity, feelings, and self-respect. Okay, now that $5,000, you might say, oh, that's no big deal. But the fact of the matter is, I'm seeing this more and more often, that landlords are being taken to court for discrimination. So that's not something you want to happen to you. So you just need to make sure that A, your language is not discriminatory, and B, you're just looking at the facts when you're looking at tenants. You're looking at the facts. Are they a good tenant? Are you being fair? Are you using the same processes for everybody? Because you need to be fair to people, just as you want people to be fair to you. All right, guys, there you have it. That was the first step in my 5-step tenant screening process, how to advertise your property. And the next step is going to be how to charge a fair market rent and how to figure out what fair market rent is for your property. If you want to get hold of me, and you want more resources, you can reach me on neldaschulte.com on my website. And you can also buy my Canadian Landlord's Handbook. There's all the information there and my contact information as well. If you haven't got your copy, run in and grab one. And so stay tuned for our next video on how to price your property accurately.